How we doing, guys? And welcome back to the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Got a lot of cool topics we're going to speak on tonight. Definitely starting on the Fernando Tatis drama, 80-game suspension for PED use. We're going to elaborate on that. Yankees continuing to struggle. Another New York team potentially could have lost their quarterback for the season. As of right now, it appears he avoided major injury, but we're still waiting on the final word on that. We're going to talk about the curse of the Gallobino, and we've got some big-name free agents that do not have homes yet. And, of course, my favorite segment, Start Bench Cut. Joining me tonight, my good friends, Mr. Ryan Wagner and Mr. Michael Zappi. How you doing, fellas? Good to see you.
Good to see you, and Zappy. Been a while.
Yeah,
it's been
man.
a long while.
Yeah,
good to see you guys.
It's off camera, but man, it's good to see Zappy. Miss you, man.
All right, we're going to start with a guy that the Padres are going to be missing, Fernando Tatis. 80 games for PED use, how this will forever hurt his image and legacy. Zappy, I'm going to let you start on this, and then we're going to go round robin on this topic. You fire it up.
I mean, where do I start? We're talking about Fernando Tatis, the guy that was supposed to be the face of baseball moving forward. He was the image. You think of Fernando Tatis, you think of that shortstop that made that double catch play last year. I mean, this guy's got one of the nicest swings in baseball. And then he had an unfortunate injury last year. And, of course, the entire Major League Baseball fan base has been awaiting his return. He obviously was here in San Antonio playing recently for the San Antonio Missions, doing his rehab. And then the news comes out that he was using PEDs. And it's kind of like we're in an era now where we're going to talk about this here shortly, but we just got done with the steroid era, but yet we still have players going out there using performance-enhancing drugs to try to get that extra little bit of a speed on their swing or whatever the case is. I'm very disappointed. I was shocked initially, but I'm very disappointed in Tatis. I mean, you have a lot of children that look up to him, and now explaining what happened to him to my son was very hard because that's his favorite player. And when the questions of why does he need to do that come up, it's kind of heartbreaking,
Takes the innocence away from the kids being fans.
Exactly. And for me, this will forever taint his legacy in Major League Baseball. If he goes out there, he can come back, 40 games into next year, 30 games, whatever it is, and he can come back and hit 45 home runs, 115 RBIs, help lead the Padres to a World Series title. He can come back and he can flirt with 73 home runs. But the fact is, people will now forever know him as the guy that took PEDs and will always question, well, did he take PEDs again to get these records or to perform at this level? Because once you get it one time, you can never clear your name from that again.
Yeah, the credibility definitely an issue. I had this conversation actually with my mom earlier today, and we made mention to each other that it seems like the only player who admitted to use that actually seems to be forgiven in the public eye was Andy Pettitte. And I believe the reason why it won Andy's way is because he was really believably contrite and believably honest on so many levels. And I'm not giving him a pass, even though he was a Yankee. But I do believe that his reasoning was to heal from injury. And I did want to ask you guys about that. Wags, I'll run it to you. Do you feel that sometimes this stuff has to do with healing from injuries? Do you think it is solely a competitive edge?
I think it's so opposite of black and white to answer that question because only that person, only that athlete knows in their heart of hearts whether they try to get over a competitive edge, whether, I can never, quote the Jim Carrey movie, Me, Myself, and I-Ring ever again after this because it was, hey, ringworm. Well, apparently ringworm is what he is accusing.
That's right. That's right.
Using the PED to treat. So, yeah, I think it happens all the time. And I think people who are not the natural talent probably do it more. And they say probably, pardon my French, but F it, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna try to like Kenny Powers on Eastbound and Down. Like, I'm gonna try to use steroids or whatever to jumpstart my training. If I don't make it to the big leagues, anyway. And obviously, the case is different. I mean, Tatis is already there. He's a star. He's the new face of the league. So I'm really upset about this.
That's what really is the kick in the dick, in the sense that this dude was positioning himself, and he even was quoted as saying, "I want to be the Latino Derek Jeter." And Derek Jeter, in terms of what he did on the field and in the lines, was squeaky clean. Obviously, the best winner of his era, winning 5 World Series with those dynasty Yankees. It's a bad look, because I'll tell you the truth, I'm a fan of this kid, really enjoy his game.
Yeah.
I remember when I was still a member of the Jordan Patrick Show, we did a show on the grand slam that he hit on 3-0 and how we felt that his manager was being a bit of a bitch and saying I have to talk to him, when in reality, some of that unwritten baseball shit, I'm not a big fan of these days. If you're throwing a meatball in there and assuming that a guy who could crank one isn't going to do it, then
you're the foolish one.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, teams had the reasoning to walk guys like A-Rod, walk guys like Bonds when they were in their primes. Right. In terms of image repair, I do think that to a level he can, not necessarily take Magic Eraser, but he can redo his image. And this is how you go about it. Number one, you don't lie. I think he already struck out there on that one. You talk to kids. You tell them about why they don't need this shit. Do I think that Fernando Tatis needs to use performance-enhancing drugs to be a great player? No, I actually don't. I never felt that way about Barry Bonds. I never felt that way about Alex Rodriguez. But I felt a little stronger that dudes like Palmeiro and Sosa,
Nelson Cruz,
McGuire, I feel like those guys definitely needed it more so. I do know that some guys in the offseason, if they think that they have the window where they're not going to get tested, they're going to try to do what they got to do to recover from injuries. And to be honest, in that gray area, I'm not even 100% sure if I feel that strongly against it. That's what they do for a living. But in terms of the competitive edge and tainting the game, these are things that have been a black guy going back to the late 80s, the majority of the 90s, early 2000s, where, the powers that be were very much in on this. And, with the 94 strike, the famous home run chase between Sosa and McGuire, it was what brought fans back. But being far removed from that, it's a bad look, man, especially a very young guy. And I think the reason why he still has time to redo his image, as I already stated, maybe go to Major League and be like, guys, I want to be tested more frequently just to prove to you that this is a blip or whatever have you. And if he can put up those kind of numbers, and if it, and if he's down to like really put himself out there, then yes, I do think the image can be repaired. And maybe down the road, Cooperstown will welcome him.
What do you think, Zappy?
I agree. You made a point, Richie, talking about something to help you with your rehab, that treat against ringworm. Mm-hmm. And this kind of falls in line with the whole marijuana.
Yeah.
It's legal in some states. It's not legal in others.
Right.
NFL, NBA, MLB, they have their stance on it. However, if you do it in Texas, it's not a good look. You do it in Florida, it's not a good look.
Florida's been a little more lenient these days. They're still,
and you
got the card now, but
yeah, right. But going back to Tatis, you look at him his injury was not the best. That shoulder injury, it held him out for a long period of time.
And then that whole motorcycle incident, with the wrist. I had him in fantasy baseball in John Olson's league, and I held on to him all season. I'm in first. I don't necessarily think I need him to win the league, but it was just one of those things where I'm like, holy shit. Now imagine being a teammate of his or his manager. This is a team that won out and got Juan Soto, which leads me to believe that the organization may have been in the know of this. Why not trade for Soto anyway? But you got Machado there. You got Will Myers. You have a quality team. They've gotten rather far without him. They bolstered their pitching, especially adding Josh Hader to the mix to close down games. But it's not just about the public persona. That's obviously a big part of it. It's also about regaining the trust of your teammates. And in that regard, it's a bad look, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Were you saying Zappy?
No. I was. The only thing I can think of is, while he's going to say that he was taking it for ringworm, like Ryan said, only that person truly knows. Fact is, he could also be fearing the comeback, and would he still have it the way we all know him as?
Right. Like there's always exceptions where there's that gray area where you could almost believe him. Like, for instance, a couple of seasons ago when Golden Tate had to serve that suspension for the fertility drug because him and his lady were trying to have a baby, I thought that was kind of a weak reason to suspend the guy. But at the same time, I understand that rules are rules, and it did fall into what the NFL specifically stated cannot be in your body on these drug tests. So a lot of variables that come into play. In terms of the immediate future for the stretch run, how do you guys feel about the Padres without Tatis? I mean, they've been without him all year. Do you think that they have enough to challenge a team like the Mets or the Dodgers?
Go ahead,
Definitely.
I tend to agree. I think that especially in a 5-game series, when you're playing the team that might be better, I think that's when they're most vulnerable because, beating a team 3 times versus beating a team 4 times is quite the difference.
Huge difference.
And, with my Yankees struggling, Zappy even brought to me, what if you play the Mariners and you got to see Luis Castillo twice? That's far from ideal.
There's 12 teams in the playoffs this year. Is that right?
Yeah, they added a deeper wild card, and there's also the 3 games as opposed to that 1-game playoff. So things are going to be a little different this year.
Why don't you guys break down either, not just for me, but for anybody who's watching who's not sure the new playoff structure before it gets to the 7-game series, as far as the 3-game that you just mentioned?
Well, the 7-game would be the league championships.
Okay.
The 5-game would be that divisional round after the wild cards, which is a 3-game set.
Okay.
So
how many teams did buy, I guess?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I still am slightly confused with it myself because it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
Because with the season starting later than usual and us not realizing we were even going to have a season, I myself was a little confused. Like, when was the shift going to be canceled? That actually is next year, which I think is bullshit. Not that I like the shift, but I'm like, dude, you're a major leaguer. Fucking bunt down the third baseline and stop crying. That's my opinion. But there's pros and cons to all of it. I hate that runner on second bullshit. But, I understand that they have a lot of games to play, and I understand that the players actually voted that back in. I thought for sure that was going to get tossed. But I'm happy that we don't have any more 7-inning doubleheaders. That was also very annoying.
Well, think about from a pitcher's perspective. If they lose that game, it's always going to be an unearned run. If they're looking about their own personal stats or their own personal end of year.
Yeah, that doesn't tag the guy because, like I said, it's a ghost runner. That guy was retired in the last inning, and then he gets to be on base. That in itself will never make sense in any world to me. So I think we're done talking about Tatis for now. I do want to hit on this because it's something that has become very frustrating for me and many other fans.
The Yankees?
The Yankees' struggles continue. Yes, it's time to worry, and I'm Captain Optimistic most of the time. There's not one specific thing that's bleeding out. Yeah, the bullpen has been a main issue, and even on the show, I put that as a big part of what the problem is. But the reality is they're just not playing good baseball. It's weird. During the course of this, unfamiliar consistency of losing, they actually are still in the plus side of things in terms of runs scored versus runs allowed. We're losing a lot of close games that the first half Yankees would win. I start the beginning of this slump. I go all the way back to before the All-Star break when they lost 2 out of 3 to the lowly Cincinnati Reds before they traded Kessler.
They're 11-20 in the last 31 games.
They're bad. They're bad right now. And they're losing series constantly. They're constantly losing series. They've been swept twice in the past 3 weeks. And it's not so much that they're losing. I mean, when you look at the standings, most people would not freak out. But the reality is that in a matter of a few weeks, the Astros, the Dodgers, and the New York Mets, and you could probably even throw the Padres in there, have all separated themselves in terms of consistency and in terms of what you want to see down the stretch, more so than the Yankees. And I mean, September hasn't even started yet. We're approaching the middle of August. There's still a lot of time.
Right.
You know, if this team gets back to winning 7 out of every 10 games, this will be forgotten in a few weeks. But I can't just co-sign and say that it's going to be okay. You know, they've had issues in the pen trying to figure out who's going to close down games. I also believe that when you make midseason trades, you also run the risk of fucking up a chemistry in the locker room. They've got injuries. Giancarlo Stanton still isn't back. Bader's not going to be back to play center and join the team in that Montgomery deal up until probably the first or second week of September. Aaron Hicks is carrying down the torch that Joey Gallo left of making sure that he consistently just stays off base.
I'm rooting for Andujar. I see they brought him back. And
he hasn't had
the opportunity, but that's just my opinion. I saw something in him a few years ago.
That was by virtue of another injury with
correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Matt Carpenter fracturing his foot.
He's on the IL too, right?
It's a bad combination of inconsistency, poor play, and injuries all happening at one time. And I'll be honest, I've kind of lightened up on Aaron Boone after I was the way I was last year with him. But I must say, these past few weeks, it really appears that he's been getting outmanaged and outthought. Yeah.
Yeah. I love this topic because it involves your Yankees.
Mm.
Rip his head off, Zappy. Oh, sorry.
No, you brought up a good point about chemistry. We saw the Padres when the trade initially happened for Juan Soto and Josh Bell, how it took them a couple games to get going.
Sure.
But now it seems like they've got the chemistry down.
Right.
Then you look at the Dodgers. They made a couple trades. They just lost their first game in 13 games today.
Yes.
So, which leads me to Joey Gallo. The Yankees have won 2 games since the Joey Gallo trade, and the Dodgers just lost their first one.
I believe we're 2-10 now since the trade.
2-10.
I believe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Then you look at the Yankees series ever since the Kansas City trade, when they traded for the outfielder, ever since they played Benintendi, they have been getting beat.
Yeah, they won that series 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4, but they have – and it's close losses. So I try to keep it in perspective and say, this is part of baseball. These things happen, but there is definitely appears to be guys looking for answers, and it seems like the only one who consistently has an answer is Aaron Judge. Mm. I try to be fair. The pitching has still been pretty damn good.
But
that bullpen has given people reasons to worry.
You say close ones. Those are the most important ones you should be winning during this time of year. So if you're losing all the close ones right now, you're definitely going to lose those close ones to the Blue Jays, the Astros, the Guardians, the Twins, the Rays, whoever the teams are that they have to face in the playoffs. So, I mean, we've seen a Yankee team that was clear as day has separated themselves from the AL in the first half of the season.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's flip it to the Dodgers, who they didn't have a very big lead in the NL. Fast forward to today, the Dodgers have separated themselves from the Padres even after that trade, are separating themselves from the likes of the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets, the Cardinals.
Mets still are kind of within, I would say, within striking distance, especially now that DeGrom is back.
The point is, go ahead, Zabby. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is, sound the alarms. The bullpen is hurting. The Yankees are now 10 games ahead of the Blue Jays. They are 3 games behind the Astros.
Which isn't a guarantee to hold on to the East.
Yeah, exactly. And right now, I find it really hard to find the teams the Yankees can beat in the playoffs, with the exception of maybe the Guardians and Twins. Other than that, I think it's going to be a roller coaster ride for them, and that they need to get it together. Maybe the return of Stanton helps them out. Maybe
What's going on
the
with that
pitching
anyway?
What's that, Wags?
It was a 2 to 3
No,
week
Zappy,
injury.
Zappy. I want Zappy to finish his point. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. Yeah, maybe go ahead.
But no, yeah. So I mean, there's just too many more questions than there are answers, and there's not enough time to resolve them. They're making the playoffs. That's a given fact.
Sure.
The Yankees have Aaron Judge, who's having a fantastic season. So they have all their bright spots, but when you put it all together, I mean, are we really going to be talking about Aaron Judge hitting 66 home runs as a Yankee in 2022, or are we going to be talking about the collapse of the Yankees in 2022, 10 years from now?
What
is
the status of Stanton? If I may step in there, I'm just curious. I don't
Achilles tendonitis.
It looks suspicious. Like you rush that back to the field before you should. It could be something really bad.
Well, they were smart enough to put Severino on the 60-day DL. The hope is that Carpenter comes back in time for the playoffs. I still like that Montgomery trade. A lot of people don't. I think the Yankees needed a quality center fielder that has a little pop. And I feel that it was in their best interest to move Judge back to right for the long haul for the future. I know the Yankees are going to make their best efforts to make sure he does not leave. If he leaves, that would be devastating.
Astros got some nasty pitching. Oh my God.
Astros are the best team in the American League right now.
Starting pitchers with the ERA under like 260 or something like that.
And that's the thing that's frustrating is that the Yankee starters have not been that bad, even throughout this bad slump.
Correct.
It has really been on the pen.
Yeah.
Untimely hitting. They might break a record for most runners left on base in a season. That is, that's not winning. That's not a winning formula.
Well, you got rid of Gallo. You're happy about that. I know you are. Despite what he does with the Dodgers,
he's hitting 200, which is still 30 points better than what he did with us. I wish him no bad. It just didn't work out. And this is something that we're going to find out here if this does work out. Zappy brought this to my attention a few nights ago. I was actually driving home from work. The Tenants, the New York Jets, team that shares a stadium with my guys. Zach Wilson, who had a very eventful offseason. He's been all over Twitter and in the news feeds. It appears that he avoided a major injury. We're going to get full clarity on that, I would assume, by tomorrow, maybe Tuesday, regarding his knee. From the initial reports, looks like 2 to 4 weeks, which will be a huge victory for them because they do have depth at the quarterback position if he has to miss the first couple of games in September. But, bigger than just this one incident, this is why, even though these games are necessary to prepare, this is why we all hate the preseason and why we get very nervous this time of the year. Yeah. Guys always get lost in these games, and it's tough. The added schedules, the enlarged workload. There's even been complaints about players with the inconsistencies in the field of different stadiums, leading to these injuries. There hasn't been a defiant pure cause. Personally, it's a lot. I think that goes without saying. It's a lot. And then I think when you take away the way training camps used to be in terms of full-on contact, I do believe to a level that actually in the long run hurts these guys, because taking it easy and then ramping it up in such a short time, I don't necessarily think is the best way to go about staying injury-free either. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, and going back to Zach Wilson, I mean, I initially called you and I told you, I was like, hey, this injury looks severe enough that it might be a torn ACL.
Oh yeah, I thought that was definitely the deal.
A non-contact injury while he's running makes a juke and then he's on the ground. I mean, it's just like I didn't like it. Which leads me to the whole preseason thing. There really isn't an answer to this. No. Because if you sit all the starters during preseason, then come week 1 through 4 of the regular season, right, this is their actual first time of experience 100% hitting, speed, everything, where your body may not be ready for that. And like you said it, in practices, these players are not hitting the way they used to in practice. I understand it's all for safety, but really, is it really safety if it's setting them up for failure when the season starts?
There's a lot of ways to look at it because, like I said, it's not natural to play flag football, so to speak, and then all of a sudden you're going full ramp mode week one, and you add another game. It's a longer season now. They're talking about maybe 18 games in less than a decade, maybe 5 years, who knows? But it's become – there's a reason why the NFL has the shortest games played because of the beatings that these guys take. And that's why I tip my hat to hockey players. I think they're truly a different breed. But I must say, man, this shit is and the only way that you could really come up with better answers is through data, and data gets built over time. So the three of us could speculate all day long, and while we have pretty educated guesses, only time truly tells the story of why these things have been on the up. And we're going to talk about some – I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and I was going to say, I mean, you made a really good point about the data, but even then, the data cannot support. All right, well, if he doesn't play this day, then he won't get hurt. Because what's to say if Zach Wilson didn't play against the Eagles, that okay, he'd be ready week one, but then it happens week one. Then what are we supposed to say?
Right.
It's just it's just so unfortunate. I mean,
yep.
I just wanted to be okay because me and Zappy made a very bold prediction on the New York Jets. We haven't – that episode is yet to air. It will be airing soon, the AFC East preview. But, man, I can't wait for that to come out. You would have thought that me and Zappy, spoke for an hour before the show. Brett was angry. That's always good to see. But
that means everything to me.
We had a good time. Yeah, we've been pushing out our football shows.
All right.
Some of them pre-recorded. I've been trying to make sure that I've been cohesive with doing the stuff for the North together, not going regionally too far from each other.
I mean, I saw the replay. I was just happy to see Zappy on your show.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
9 days ago, something like that. Yeah.
That's a cool thing about the show too. It kind of bridges the gap, with Zappy living out in Texas. I definitely got to get out there. We've spoken about this for a few different times, but I want to see the Giants in AT&T. Want to see AT&T in general, but why not see my team if I'm going to check it out? And we were talking about the injuries, and we got some often injured stars here that are currently without homes. These are all once upon a time perennial Pro Bowlers. Now at this juncture of their career, not so much, but still guys that can help teams win. Odell Beckham Jr., JPP, Jalen Smith, Ndamukong Suh. Will any of them play this year? That's my first question. And my second is, where will they go? Let's start with OBJ.
Bold prediction for OBJ. He will be a Buffalo Bill.
I would have to say that's the most probable, but just to kind of throw another team in the mix, I'm going to say the San Francisco 49ers. But I do tend to agree with you. I think that his first play is more than likely Buffalo, and I think Buffalo wants him, especially in that slot role with the recently departed Cole Beasley. What do you think, Wags?
Okay, he's got his ring, right?
He got his ring.
One thing none of us know is now, what is his MO?
We got to get healthy. That's his biggest thing. His MO? He's a bit of a mercenary at this point. I think that's how you view him.
He's not that panic mode. I've had some injuries now. I've been through a few teams. I've had some controversy. I need to get a ring. No, he's got the ring. So what is his MO? I don't know this. I'm just
at this juncture. Keep winning.
I would say keep winning, but to get that last contract, because before that injury in the Super Bowl, he was on pace to get a very lucrative deal this offseason. Okay. And then that injury happens, and then all of a sudden it sets him back another year.
And he squandered a lot of money.
So right now,
to get out of Cleveland.
Is he a free agent right now as we stand?
Yes, he's healing and he's a free agent. If I had to guess, he's not going to be on a football field until anywhere between week 6 and week 10.
I think he touches the field after Thanksgiving.
What about
I
Denver?
think it's going to be to a team that's in need of a receiver. Denver, I mean, they did just lose Tim Patrick, but they still have their slot receiver. I find it hard
Yeah,
to believe that
I
he
don't
would
think
go to
that's the
Denver.
fit. I don't think that's the
only
fit.
because of them getting Russell. I was just thinking.
No, I got to believe it's going to be for a team that is in
Indy won't take
contention
him.
for a Super
That's
Bowl.
a fact.
Yeah, I don't see him going to Indy. Tampa, you can't rule out Tampa.
You can't rule out Tampa, and a lot of it can be because you don't know what you can get from Julio this year.
And I'll be honest,
also, is he going to go all year too?
You can't rule out Green Bay. It would be a weird marriage, but Green Bay, that would be an interesting situation.
Zappy, you want him? You guys lost Cooper?
I mean, well, with Dallas and receivers, I'll tell you right now, yes, we need another receiver. I did see a couple of little small glimmers of hope during last night's preseason game, but Jalen Tolbert didn't exactly wow me, not yet at least. Yes, they need a receiver, but Dallas doesn't need an OBJ because they need a receiver that's going to be ready to play week 1 and not week 10. So,
I was surprised they allowed Cedric Wilson to go. Cooper goes without saying. I was surprised that they reinvested in Michael Gallup coming off the injury, and I like Michael Gallup, but I really thought Cedric Wilson showed a lot, and I think he's going to help Miami now. But yeah, I say Bills for OBJ. Where you got JPP going, or is he going to retire? I'm going to lean towards JPP retires.
I'm leaning towards JPP retires unless if there's a big injury in a team that is just a D end away. Let's just, you think about what if Shaq Barrett goes down for the Bucks? Could I see them going back after him? Absolutely,
yeah, sure,
I can.
Sure, and he knows the system.
He knows the system very well. I think his list is very, very small, but I think he's more likely inclined to retire than play.
I tend to agree. Barring a massive injury to a team that can win now, he's going to retire. What do you think about JPP, Wags? Where would he go?
I think your most likely prediction is accurate, but I think he would take a small contract and go to the Rams.
That's not a bad look either.
That wouldn't be a bad look at all. They did lose Von Miller. You put JPP right next to Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Might be able to get a little more pressure. So absolutely, you could see that because then they still have to worry about a Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
So, they could try it out and then go ahead.
Yeah, but it's hard to see that one because Leonard Floyd actually had himself a pretty good year last year for the Rams. Von Miller, he was a short-term investment, but it paid out.
You know where he would fit?
I could.
You know where he would fit? Just off the top of my head, a team that could use a talent like him. Actually, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Who just lost Chris Jones? Okay. You're talking about JPP still, right?
Yeah, we're on JPP.
Yeah. Who did Chris Jones go to anyway? Before I don't want to.
They lost the Honey Badger. Honey Badger's gone.
Yeah. Chris Jones is still a Chief.
No, Chris Jones is still there. I just think that.
Wait a second.
In a division where you need to get to the quarterback, he could help. Because, that's
especially
the most prolific
West.
Quarterback division. He ain't going to the Chargers, and very unlikely he goes to the Raiders. I could see him.
And I don't see him.
No.
I can see him. If you're going to say Broncos.
No, he ain't going to.
I can't. Unless Bradley Chubb, Gregory, everyone got hurt. But still, no. He doesn't fit Denver.
This next one I kind of find intriguing with Jalen Smith because I felt that on a very bad Giants team last year and a team that even after upgrading their roster to a level with limitations because, the cap is a real thing. I don't think the Giants can fully address their roster until next year with the salary cap. Having said that, I thought Jalen Smith played really great for an injured Blake Martinez. And in the defense they run, what is the weakest part of the team? I would say, cornerback 2, definitely Aaron Robinson is vulnerable, for lack of a better word. This team likes to blitz a lot as well under Wink Martindale. I feel that Jalen Smith played well. He didn't fit with the Packers. It made all the sense in the world why Dallas released him. I understand that. But I was a little disappointed on a team that lacks linebacking talent. Now, I understand that we drafted Beavers. We did a few things. Martinez is coming off an injury. Hopefully he could get back to form. But I think Jalen Smith is good enough to crack a roster, and I think the Giants should have invited him back.
They don't like to chase the Beavers? What? Go ahead. Carry on. I'm just being a smart ass.
No. Go ahead.
No.
All right. You know my stance on Jalen Smith.
Yeah, I do. That's painful. Notre Dame. I know.
I love Jalen Smith. I loved him when he was in Notre Dame. I hated the moment I saw him with that knee injury against Ohio State. It was a heartbreaking moment. I thought his career was over.
I did,
however, which I think ties into the Jalen Smith we're talking about. Jalen Smith, when he was let go by Dallas, it was a move that a lot of fans knew was coming. A lot of fans wanted to ignore it and say, Jerry Jones, you're stupid. Steven, you're stupid if you do this. But when you actually watch the film on Jalen, I understand he was top 5 in tackles. But that also says things about your defensive line when it's your linebacker having that many tackles. And
same thing with Blake Martinez with my team. Some of that, even when he was a Green Bay Packer. I mean, don't get me wrong. Blake Martinez is a good football player, very high football IQ. They're both very smart guys. But I think he's going to retire as well.
Yeah,
not necessarily by desire, but more so because the opportunities are drying out.
No, I think he retires because of I think he's going to retire because of the lack of opportunities. But I think 3 teams in 1 year, in 1 year. That's a lot.
Go ahead, Rex.
Wrong. When we went to the Sanford Notre Dame game and they had those awesome seats and saw A-Rod and saw Josh Adams score a touchdown right in our faces and saw Christian McCaffrey and saw that we lost the game and whatever. And I was hungover as F. I was puking in the bathroom before the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Jalen Smith probably 20 years old at the time? So, isn't Jalen Smith, if you're talking about him retiring, is he no older than 27?
He's not even 30 yet.
27?
30 yet.
28? He's 20. I think he's 28.
He's definitely not 30. Of course not. Yeah, no. Of course not.
No, it's just that his body's been through a lot.
I saw him in, I want to say 2015.
It was in
November of 2015. So that's 6 years ago. Let's say he's a junior. Let's say he's 20. So he's 27, 28 the most right now.
Yeah, he's not an old guy, but he's football old in terms of injuries.
Yeah, and that his sideline to sideline speed, it's not there anymore. The guy, and not only that, his field vision is off. The guy was always hitting the wrong holes. Well, I mean, I think the knee had a lot to do with it, but the knee has nothing to do with his field vision. His field vision just after the 2018 season, it went away, and the burst was not there anymore. Do I think the burst will come back? No, because he's getting older. He's still young, but he's getting older in terms of football years, and B, he hasn't shown much on the field with Dallas, Green Bay, and the Giants. I got a text from John Olsen right away the second they signed Jalen Smith. What should I expect? And I told him, this is what you're going to get. And he got just that, and that's why Jalen Smith was gone shortly after. I
did think that he had a decent amount of games with the Giants. He played a month with us. But once again, I don't know. It's like when they say, when somebody's about to die, they get a last burst.
How does somebody between the ages of 23 and 27, and I'll just compare apples to apples, if I may get in real quick, between the ages of 23 and 27 and someone like a Ray Lewis, because I'm comparing middle linebacker to middle linebacker. Ray Lewis is in his prime at 25. He plays until 37, wins his second Super Bowl 12 years later. What am I missing as far as what happened to Jalen Smith? As far as the vision, that's what I'm talking about, Zapping. I mean, of course, if someone has a devistating injury, I don't mean that. But as far as
think when your body fails what other things follow. There's confidence that goes into that.
Because Zappy, you love Jalen Smith as much as I love him as a Notre Dame guy, So I'm looking for just an explanation, I guess, and maybe there's not one. That's fine.
There really isn't one. But if you go look at the games he played in 2019 and 2020 for the Cowboys, the guy was always out of position. The guy was always out of position. He was taking the wrong angle. Was his love for the game there? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, okay. Well, you can't explain that. we have to get into the head of that athlete himself. You can't explain that. I mean, you could say that teams scheme to beat Jalen Smith, but I mean, we had a couple of good linebackers, and both LVE and Jalen Smith just went down the drain. So there's a lot of factors we can look into this. You could look at the speed of the game. The speed is still getting faster throughout these years. So the older generation of players, and when you're 5 years, 6 years into the league, you're considered an older generation of player because you've already surpassed playing with that team 3 years, which is the normal lifespan for these players, So there's a lot. Yeah, we could bring up the Ray Lewis, the Ed Reeds. We could bring about the guys that have long 15-year careers, Hall of Fame careers, but that's why they have Hall of Fame careers, is because they're unique in their own way, that they have stood the test of time. They have dealt with adversity. They've done this and that. But they adapt. They adapt. Exactly. And
look at Michael Strahan. 4 years, future Hall of Famer. He had to make a lot of adjustments.
As far as that hope and potential as far as Jalen Smith, and it didn't matriculate, and that's probably the most frustrating thing. Notre Dame, of course, and I tip it off to Zab because he, obviously played for your team and professionally. So okay, I got you.
My thing is this:
I think that was tough.
You have so many guys coming in every year from college.
Yeah.
And then when you factor in expected salaries or things of that nature, the way I see it is, even though it's unfortunate because we all are Irish fans and we all want to see Jalen Smith succeed, whether for my team, his team, or just a team in general.
Yeah.
I just think that unfortunately it's more than likely over. And I even said that I would have liked the Giants to invite him to camp to see if he had anything left, because I thought he played well enough last year to at least crack the roster. But cracking the roster isn't necessarily what's best for the future of teams when you're considering that guys are coming in. Can you teach the old dog new tricks, or can you cultivate a new player? That's a lot of times what this shit comes down to, too. Look at the quarterback position. That's always a glaring thing that happens year in and year out with that. I mean, Jalen Smith, to me, overachieved, because when Zappy basically said, I thought his career was over, I, too, believe that. And he had some good years in Dallas.
He had some great years in Dallas. I mean, I could think of a couple of plays. The rundown against Houston where he chases Deshaun Watson down at the 1 yard line. The speed he showed to catch up to Deshaun Watson and prevent him from scoring that touchdown. That's when everyone said, he's back. That's Jalen Smith that we've known at Notre Dame. Yeah. And he has a phenomenal play against the Buccaneers. This guy, but that was it. It was like he got his money for one. The play declined after that. And then and I think another thing to consider is his brand. He started his own little line of sunglasses and things like that. So I think that also takes into consideration.
Did you get distracted by marketing stuff? I didn't mean to cut you off. I wasn't disagreeing with you.
Not necessarily distracted. I think sometimes that guys that have taken beatings know that they can make their money and not hurt to get it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times as fans, I think we're all guilty of being closed-minded to a level and not seeing these guys past their playing days. And I think sometimes guys just kind of look at Borland. He left a lot of money on the table with the Niners.
Who?
Chris Borland.
Chris Borland, yeah.
He left money on the table with the Niners. David Wilson, his career was cut short, and a lot of Giant fans remember him. But to answer the question, it's just football age, in my opinion. Last name on this list, I'm going to make it short and sweet. I think Sue doesn't necessarily want to retire, but I don't necessarily think that there's a market for him. I think his playing days are over as well. I think JPP and OBJ have the two best chances of playing this year.
I think Sue will only come to a team that I could see him coming back to the Bucks even after they sign Akeem Hicks. I could see him going if the Rams possibly called him back. Hey, I could see that happening too. I could see a team like the Packers even calling him. I don't think he's going to retire.
He's not going to.
No, I mean, I'm just naming teams. But if you're a playoff contending team and you lose your 1 technique, 3 technique, your guy.
It's hard not to call the guy.
It's hard not to call, and it's hard for him to not answer and get another ring. So, no, I don't think he's done.
Or Zap, go ahead.
Wags, talk, dude. You got to stop.
Or,
dude, if you're going to interrupt somebody, you got to start talking.
I'll put it right in his mouth right now.
Come on, let's go.
What did I say? No, or a team that it was not expected to be a playoff contention team. Now we're talking now off season. Let's fast forward hypothetically to week 12, week 13, week 14, 15, whatever. There's a team that's potentially could be a smaller market team, whatever. Now it's got a shot at a division or a wild card that you wouldn't think would happen at the time. I don't actually have a specific team in mind right now. The point is,
it comes down to
they have an injury. They need a big guy in the middle. Sue's a free agent. Bring him in.
Yeah.
I don't think he's retiring. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I don't think any of these guys retire by choice. Maybe I think JPP is the most content out of this group of guys I listed. He's got 2 rings. And, he overcame a lot of shit. A bad car accident. He broke his neck. He had an accident on 4th of July. I think out of these players I mentioned, he's the most content with retiring. I think Jalen wants to play. I just think Jalen knows he's not
going to get his opportunity.
Correct.
And going back to Jalen, here's one reason why I don't think he's going to get his opportunity, because a couple weeks ago, the Dallas Cowboys, we needed another linebacker. Jalen was out there, a guy that knows our team, knows the system, knows the culture in Dallas, but yet we go out and get Malik Jefferson instead, who hasn't played in a while too. That right there is enough to me to say that Jalen's career is over.
And comparable talent for less money is always going to make sense in a league that is driven by a salary cap. Before we get out of here, I want to hit on my favorite segment, Start Bench Cut. Postseason pitching duos. Going to give you two a chance to just read that, kind of think about what you guys are going to say. I'm going to let Wags start this one. Those are your pitching duos that have done big things in the postseason. I'll bring that back up just a moment. Yeah. Wags, 490 seconds, just in case if we have a tie. When you're ready, you give me the thumbs up, and then you. All right, let's go. Rip it.
I'm gonna go. Hold on a second. I'm gonna cut Pettit and Clemens. I'm gonna bench Pedro and Schilling. I'm gonna start Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling because of the intimidation factor. So I think if I'm not too stupid, I think all these guys won titles.
Yeah.
Well, of course they all won titles, but I mean, as far as the intimidation factor in 01, I'm thinking 2001, Kurt Schilling. And if I mistook my math, if I mistook my history on this, if Kurt Schilling was not on the 01 team with the big unit, then Zappy's going to get on here and metaphorically slice my throat anyway.
He was.
Okay, so
the Yankees.
Yeah, I just remember the what do you call it? What's his name? The left-handed batter from the Phillies, John Kruk.
Yeah.
When he in the All-Star or whenever a unit threw at him, he was just so intimidated about it. He was just like, and that's a Hall of Fame hitter right there, right? So my point is this: they're the most intimidating duo, and Kurt Schilling. His whole bloody sock incident, that was 3 years later in 04, I believe, with the Red Sox. Mm-hmm. So he's 3 years more into his prime in 01 when he was with the 2001 Diamondbacks with Randy Johnson, and I don't remember the year with Clemens and Pettit, but let me just leave it at that.
There were multiple years.
Yeah.
Zap, you're up.
As far as the intimidation factor, 1-2 punch, I'm going to go unit, Schilling, 01 Diamondbacks. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So,
rip my head
Roger Clemens, Andy Pettit. They won 2 World Series together, and then they go on and face the Arizona Diamondbacks and Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson. And of course, Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson win. That Yankees team was one of the best Yankee teams ever assembled. We could look at it. The Yankees had just come off of 3 World Series champions in a row. So we can look at that. I mean, obviously Roger was there for 2 of them. Andy was there for the 3 of them. I'm going to cut Clemens and Pettit due to the simple fact that while they did win a couple of World Series together, they had much, much better teams to do it with. And because of the fact that they lost to the team on benching in Pedro Martinez and Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson. So I'm going to bench Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson because when we think about the amount of games they pitched in that World Series against the Yankees, I mean, it was a thing of beauty. It was an absolute thing of beauty. And I mean, the big unit, the guy, just him standing at the mound was very terrifying enough.
Yes.
Then you bring in Kurt Schilling, who, I mean, a great pitcher. But as we see, he's on here twice with two different teams. Now, I'm going to start Pedro Martinez and Kurt Schilling because of many factors that we take into consideration. First, we had the Yankees up 3-0 in that series in which the Red Sox came back and won. We had a lot of factors that went into play, but they did it. Secondly, the impact that World Series had for Boston, for that city, the fan base, everything. It broke the curse, and it led to even more World Series in the years to come. I mean, if you're asking about the best duo, it would be Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling, no questions asked, for that time. Long, better careers, Roger Clemens and Andy Pettitte, but most impactful, Pedro Martinez and Kurt Schilling, because of the curse of the Bambino. That was over. World Series finally happened. The 3-0, and to me, is still the greatest sports upset in history. To be down 3-0 and come back and defeat your bitter rivals, I mean, that's unheard of. And I mean, just watching all the Yankees fans when they saw that happen, their jaws dropped. So yeah, so that's mine. Starting Pedro Kurt.
Right now.
All right. I'm going to give you which way I would go with this.
He's watching all the Yankees fans.
I'm cutting Pedro and Schilling, and not because what they did wasn't spectacular.
He's like, but it's fucking Red Sox. Oh,
no,
sorry.
Nothing to do with that.
No, I know. You're fair and impartial.
Wags, come on, man.
Dude,
come on, dude. We're on Pedro and Schilling getting cut because of the sheer fact that the Yankee team that they beat wasn't even in the same stratosphere as the Yankee team that Schilling and Johnson beat. So that was a few years removed from championship pedigree. They lost Clemens and Pettitte going into that season to the Houston Astros. So that disqualifies those two. Yeah. I'm benching Clemens and Pettitte, similar to the reason that Zappy explained, because while they won multiple championships, they played on some damn good teams, and they also had a decent amount of help. Schilling and Johnson for the start. This is my thing. I feel that Wags didn't talk enough, and I feel that Zappy out-talked himself. Under normal circumstances, I give Zappy an automatic win for the extra info. But because we have some more time and because I want to hear Wags talk more, we're going to have a second round. And there's really no rhyme or reason other than the fact that I just want to see how this plays out. Rodgers, Allen, Brady, MVP candidates. Zappy, you start this. Wags, you're going to end this. Let's go. 90 seconds.
All right, so obviously we have Aaron Rodgers, who's the two-time defending NFL MVP. He did lose a big target in Devontae Adams. Right. Tom Brady, 45 years old, what could possibly be his final year, still has great talent around him, and Julio, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and so on and so forth. The guy has done it with the greatest, and he's also done it with nobodies. Right. And then we have Josh Allen, who every year has gotten better and better and better, more accurate. Now they bring in a running back like James Cook through the draft, who should take some of the load off and actually help improve the running game in Buffalo. I'm starting Josh Allen because of the sheer fact that not only is he a pocket throwing quarterback, not only can he heave the ball 80 yards down the field, but because of his ability to run the ball. I am going to bench Tom Brady because of what I said, the amount of talent he has around him, but you just cannot take anything away from what Tom Brady has done throughout his career. And I'm cutting Aaron Rodgers because I do believe losing Devontae Adams and Scalding is a lot bigger than people think. While I do believe their rookie receivers to come along and have good years, but they're not the talent they have. And we're going to see a drop-off in in performance by Rodgers because of that. So, yeah, I'm starting Allen, benching Brady, and cutting Rodgers.
Wags, you're up.
I'm cutting Tom Brady. He's done. I neck to neck with Zappy on the Josh Allen, starting him. I think 1 year, 2 years from now, if you had a fast forward hypothetically this conversation, I'm going to start Josh Allen. But right now, I'm going to bench, not cut. I'm going to bench Josh Allen and start A-Rod because yes, we're all aware of the situation with Louis Valdez, Scantling, and of course the Devontae Adams. It just seems like whenever he's got something more to prove, he can do it.
I like both of your reasonings.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to stick around Green Bay too much more longer either. So.
Nah, he's not going anywhere with that money he signed. I disagree with you there. All right. First of all, I just want to let it be known that a guy that I didn't put on this list is the guy I'm picking to win the MVP this year. That's actually Justin Herbert. That's my opinion. We'll see how that plays out. The reason why I threw these three in there is because two of them are prolifically winning them, and the other one is a heavy favorite. If I'm choosing out of these three, I'm cutting Rodgers. I'm benching Allen. I'm starting Brady. That gives Zappy a close dub because of the fact that he had two guys listed. I have to agree with Zappy more so because not that the Packers aren't going to have a good year. It's more so because the stats are not going to favor Rodgers as in previous years. I also want to make a point that 1-2 punch of Dillon and Jones is probably the best in football. And I also want to make a mention that their fucking defense is going to be very good because they got a nice little return on what they were able to replace Adams with in terms of draft capital. Going to UGA twice. I like it. Zappy, you get the dub here. I do like the points that both of you made, mainly on the pitching duo thing. I disagreed with both of you to a level on both parts of this, but in the end, Zappy was a little closer to agreeing with me. That's why he gets the dub. We've got the NFC North preview that will be debuting on the 17th of August, which happens to be my father's birthday. Had to release that.
Pops. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
5 years.
Wow.
5 years on the 21st, man. Kind of crazy, but, like anything else, love doing this show, and I know that if he was with us, he'd be all about hanging with us and doing this show.
We're
And
proud of you, man. You taking over the podcast, Richie, for real.
I appreciate it, man.
Proud of you no matter what.
Doing it.
Yeah, but yeah. Just I wish Pops was here to see you and the guests on the show. Zappy, he knows that too, of course.
No, I appreciate that, guys. But we're having a great time doing this show. Football season's back, so we've been going hard on our divisional previews. Anything either one of you guys want to say before we get out of here? We got about 2 minutes.
Have to pee soon.
Oh, okay. How about?
No, I mean,
not an emergency, but
How about you,
No,
Zach?
it's like you
Anything
said.
to say on the way out?
No, it's like you said, this is the best time of the year. We have baseball finishing up, but the hunt for October is here. We have football that's back. College football is less than 3 weeks away. It's just there's nothing I can complain about right now. Now it's all about trying to figure out what's going to happen with the Yankees, Zach Wilson, Fernando Tatis, the impact it had.
I want to be right about those Jets to a level. And believe me, I'm a Giants fan, and very rarely will you ever hear me say anything like that. But to be right over Brett, especially with the Dolphins, I can't wait to people see the AFC East show. That's going to be coming later this week. Yeah, we had a great time with that. He's Zappy.
That was a good one. Sorry.
No, you're good. He's Zappy. I'm Richie. Wags is where is he?
I'm here.
All right. Sign off, Wags. We got about 30 seconds.
Okay, what am I doing?
You say goodbye to the people that are watching.
Goodbye.
You feeling better? That was a good piss.
It was a hell of a stream I just put out there.
Good for you.
Interesting.
Zappy.
He's Zappy. He's Wags.
Say hello to all 4 of your kids, and I missed them like crazy, man. And I got We're not gonna do it tonight, but like at some point we'll figure